How's the how's the video? How's the video? Because it's oh my hair. I've had a long day. Can you tell? My goodness. How is everybody? I hope you're doing okay. It's snowing in South Dakota today, so we all know I'm tired of that already. I figured we could talk about the energies today because we have just gone into Taurus season. Taurus is all about the senses, all about your feelings, all about how you feel inside your body, your senses, your perceptions about your reality. And so we also had a solar eclipse and the new moon in Aries late last night, early this morning, depending where you're at. And so there's a lot going on energetically for us to kind of dive into. So I personally have been, it affected Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, and Libra the hardest, which I believe are the cardinal signs. And I'm a Capricorn with a Libra rising. So I do have an Aries stellium, which stellium means that I have a lot of placements in Aries in my chart. So I've been really getting my butt kicked. So yeah, going through trauma, I feel you, Jen. I feel you. So it's really been intense. I'm not normally affected by moon phases. I'm not normally affected by them. I can honestly say that. So I think it's interesting that all of these things are happening all the same time. Personal experience, I have been dealing with a lot of past trauma that has to do with me and other people. So, of course, that's what all trauma is. Thank you for pointing that out. And I was going to do readings tonight, and then when I sat down to do readings tonight, no, actually, I was making a coffee to come in here to do readings, and they told me, let's talk about trauma, okay, and how sneaky it can be for you. Trauma has a way of really getting into like every atom of your being, every speck of your energy is really affected by trauma, and we don't realize that. I wrote a little something when I was trauma triggered. I think it was about a week ago. And I realized I was trauma triggered. It happens. We get triggered all the time. But I realized I was trauma triggered because somebody said something to me, and I just kind of went into panic mode, and then I went into fear energy, and then that's kind of people have different reactions with their triggers. I'm so sorry to hear that, Kathleen. I'm so sorry to hear that. So I'm trying to find what I posted because I wrote something. So I had this trigger, and I sat because I was in my bathtub when it happened, and I sat in my bathtub and just cried my eyes out. And I knew it was a trigger because I immediately started berating myself for being so stupid, for being such an idiot, for trusting, and just being naive and just being stupid. And I knew that was not me talking, because I don't feel that way about myself. That was me as a kid, right? So I sat with those emotions, and I allowed myself to feel those things. And then I parented myself in the bathtub as I was saying those things. And I told myself that I'm not stupid, that people are worthy of trust until they show you that they're not trustworthy, right? Because that's true. That that I'm not an idiot. I'm very intelligent. I've got a very high IQ. I'm emotionally intelligent. I have a lot of common sense. I have a college degree. And so I parented myself through that. I parented myself through that triggers. But that was just the beginning. That was the beginning of the week. And then it just got more intense. But when I finally stopped crying, and I realized that it was a huge overreaction on my part. It made me look at that, the overreaction and the feelings that I was going through in my romantic relationship, and the extremes that I was feeling. Wanting to have a close relationship and then being petrified of trusting somebody and having a close relationship, and just all the emotional roller coaster ride I was going through. So, anyways, I wrote something on my profile, and I know a lot of you are not friends with me on Facebook, but it was 6 days ago. But I got out of the bathtub and I dried my face, and like I've explained to a lot of people, when you have this purging of emotional baggage, when you have this um, pain that's kind of brought out of you from your depths, right? After you purge, after you cry, after you let it out, crying really is the key here. But after you let it out, you get that moment of clarity. And it's like an epiphany. It's like an aha moment. It's like it all of a sudden that makes sense. But you have to allow yourself to feel that pain, you know? And I think that's why it's baggage. It's baggage because we really haven't allowed ourselves to hurt. We didn't want to hurt, so we shoved it down, we pushed it away. It was too painful, right? And we don't want that. And so we don't allow ourselves to feel those negative emotions. And it makes it harder for your healing journey when you won't really take the time to look at each of those situations that are painful to look at. And I understand that because it's painful. And pain is hard and it's big and it aches and it makes you feel very uncomfortable in your body, and it makes you feel unworthy. And that's really what pain does. It makes you feel unworthy. So that's one of those situations that, like, we avoid that because we don't want to feel that. But what happens when you avoid something and when you suppress it? When you avoid things and you suppress things, they end up manifesting as physical illness in your body, physical dis-ease in your body. It's actual dis-ease, it's not disease. And it is your emotional trauma that is creating that inside of your body. So wherever you are having dis-ease, you correlate that with a specific chakra system, because everything is covered in your chakra systems. And you figure out what it is exactly you are suppressing, what it is you are ignoring, what it is you're not dealing with, what it is that is causing you so much pain that you will not allow yourself to look at it, to feel it, that it's just so much. And it can be overwhelming. And I spoke to my son today, and he's having a very hard time also. My family is really going through it this week, and it's not just this week. My children have been really having a very difficult time since I moved, and it really, I don't think it has anything to do with me moving, but they've been, in their life they've been having a very difficult time. But my son today told me that he is just so overwhelmed. And I said, "How can I help? How can I make you feel better?" You know, he felt like he wasn't like his emotions were invalidated by everybody around him, that his friends were betraying him, and and it's been a really hard time for him. And I'm like, how can I help you? What can I do? What can I say? Because I know that there's nothing I can say to make you feel better. There's nothing I can truly say when you're this angry, when you're this upset. But if you want me to go kick some ass, I will. And I told him, I'm so sorry for everything that you're going through. I'm sorry that people are not validating your feelings. I'm sorry they're making you so angry that you're enraged. I'm sorry that you're going through this and you feel so alone. I'm sorry that you don't have the close connections that you crave in your life. I'm sorry that it makes you feel like you're not important. I'm sorry that you're struggling and you just need help, right? And we've all been going through it. We really have. My daughter is in a very deep depression. I had a situation with Emma the other day that absolutely just stabbed me in the heart, and really just, it was rough. I mean, I cried for a day and a half. But there's so much going on right now, right? So let's talk about these feelings. Trauma and Taurus season. Taurus is the season of feeling. So I personally feel like this is the beginning of a month of cleansing. I personally feel like this is an opportunity for us to really look at what is in our heart, what we are carrying around, what we need to let go of. And I personally feel that if you're not aware of what you're carrying around, it will be shown to you. It will very much be shown to you. If it hasn't been shown to you this week, be prepared, because it will be. It's time for us to feel this. It's time for us to allow ourselves to hurt. It doesn't make you weak if you're hurt. It doesn't make you less of a person if you're in pain. It doesn't make you, it just doesn't make you less. Everybody has pain. Everybody has trauma. And I think that's something that we all need to understand, because even Emma, as much as I have tried to make her life as good as I can, even Emma has things in her life that have traumatized her. My relationship with Travis was very traumatic for her and I, and that is definitely something that I need to try to heal. Another thing about trauma is it will sneak up on you. It will sneak up on you even when you have done the work, even when you have felt like you have attended and checked all the boxes on the healing, when you think you have done all of the analysis, when you think you have laid it to bed. It will rear its ugly head as quickly as it wants to when you try to get in a relationship. So, lesson here, I was not aware that there were some pieces of baggage floating around that would be triggered when I got into another relationship. I was not aware of that, but I became aware of it very quick, and I did the right thing, and I created healthy boundaries for myself. Right? I said, look, this is very triggering for me. This situation right here is very triggering for me for some reason. I've never had this problem before my last relationship. I've never experienced this particular emotional trigger prior to that relationship. It was a very, very toxic relationship. So this is creating emotional distress for me. And I'm gonna say, hey, can we not do this again? Can we not do this particular thing because it makes me very triggered? And I'm aware of it. And if we can both take the effort to help me, since I'm trying to help you, that'd be great. And so I set that boundary for myself. I set that boundary, hey, this is not okay with me, which I feel like is the healthy thing to do. I'm aware that that is now a trigger for me, and we're going to try not to do that and not cause emotional distress in the relationship. It's one thing. That's all it is. Everything else is wonderful. But that didn't stop happening. So I decided to take a break from that relationship and just walk away from that because I didn't feel like my boundaries were being respected. Even though he's a wonderful person, it's just we're both on healing journeys. Didn't realize this was a thing for me, but we're both on healing journeys. And so sending lots of love to that person. And it's just not healthy for me to keep myself in a situation where I'm not feeling respected, where I'm feeling disregarded. So I have made some progress this week through these trauma triggers. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about how toxic relationships and childhood emotional trauma, sexual trauma, mental trauma creates a fear of abandonment. It can create a self-esteem issue. It can create, and it does create a narcissistic personality disorder. It is 100% responsible for borderline personality disorder. It can create dissociative identity disorder, which used to be known as multiple personality disorders. There is every possible thing that can be psychologically diagnosed as a mental health disorder is created by emotional trauma, period. End of story. Physical manifestations in your body, such as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, other neurological issues in your body are also energy related, like Parkinson's disease, MS, things that are affected by your brain electromagnetism. There is an answer for all of these things, and that is allowing yourself to feel. Exactly what I discussed with you in our private session. Is it? So there's everyone out there who's on a spiritual journey will tell you, you have to do the inner work. You have to do the inner work. And trust me when I say that I have done the inner work. I have absolutely allowed myself to feel every emotion. I have not protected myself from the pain. I have allowed myself to feel all of everything, the embarrassment, the shame, the humiliation, the anger, the disgust, the rage. And I have allowed myself to feel all of those things all the way up to Travis. Yeah, that was a rough one. And I think what I have to do, the first step for me personally, I don't know how everybody else deals with things, but the first step for me personally, because I blame myself because it was my fault, because I did allow him to come back over and over and over again because I believed him. I wanted to believe that he was going to change. I wanted to believe the promises that he told me. I was not naive. I knew, some part of me knew that he was not going to change, but I loved him. I could see the injured little boy, and I made excuses for his behavior. And I repeatedly came on Facebook and it made excuses for his behavior. And, y'all were just as sweet as could be and so supportive and said, we love you and we support your decisions. And I appreciate that. I do. But maybe you shouldn't have. Maybe you should have told me I'm a fucking idiot. Maybe you should have told me he was manipulating me. Maybe you should have been more honest with me because I appreciate honesty. And my son told me a couple of days ago, he says, if people were just honest with me, I could forgive them. And I'm like, yeah, if people were just honest. Oh, I definitely, Bambi, yeah, I definitely had a trauma bond with Travis. It was extremely traumatic, my relationship with him. And maybe I'll write it all down for everybody to read one day. But that day is not today. My phone is, okay. I'm going to read you, if I can. And for some reason, my screen was zoomed in and I couldn't fix it. So I'm going to read you this little thing that I wrote 6 days ago after I had my first trauma trigger. And then the following triggers were really awesome. Your soul family will never apologize for the emotional issues you have now. For the baggage. Why is this screen so, I can't even read it. Why is it doing that? Hold on. I'm going to see if this fixes it. It looks like it's fixed. Hold on. I got this, I swear. I promise. We'll get it worked out. Also, if you see anything funny on Facebook, by all means share it with me because I love to laugh. Okay. Your soul family will never apologize for the trauma they caused you, for the mental and emotional issues you have now, for the baggage you carry. They will never understand how it has crept into every fiber of your being and made you a different person. How that feeling of betrayal has colored every relationship, every conversation, every action you have taken from that moment on. They will never experience the pain you have suffered at their hands, their voices, their behaviors. They can't. You will never get the heartfelt apology, the bone-crushing hug and tears of empathy that you've been craving since they broke your heart and your trust. That's never going to happen. What will happen is the realization that it has colored every speck of you, that it is an issue, that there is so much pain inside of you. And it's okay to acknowledge that it's there. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to feel betrayed and abandoned. It's okay to feel all that. No one can make you feel better. No words can fix what's been hurt inside of you. But knowing it's there, seeing it, feeling it, it helps to figure out how to make yourself whole again. Knowing it's there shows you where to look when you're not okay. There's comfort in that knowing. There's clarity. They'll never apologize for your pain. I'm so sorry you were hurt. I love you. And I think that what we need to do right now in Taurus season, in this season of our lives, we need to acknowledge how much people have hurt us, because I know a lot of people won't feel comfortable admitting that others have hurt them because it makes them feel weak. It makes them feel vulnerable. It makes them feel susceptible to hurt, right? But really what it's doing is allowing yourself to speak on your pain. Acknowledging your hurt is important. It's important. I was sexually abused by my father from the time I was I'm going to assume I was about a year old. I don't know. I was still in diapers until I was 5 years old, and so was my brother. But we won't talk about that. That's his story, not mine. And my mother was a young mom, and she liked to go out, and she liked to go out every weekend. And every weekend, or as often as she could, she would drop us off at my dad's house because they weren't together. And when it came about, and the truth came out, my mother told me later on that she felt like he was doing that to me just to get back at her. So she made it about her. When the truth came out, she also made it about her then too. She had a mental breakdown and made it about her. And then I was told that I needed to just get over it. I was told that it was no big deal and that I needed to just go on with my life. But that changed me as a person. And it created a lot of lack inside of me. And it created a lot of conditioning inside of me. And it created a lot of hypervigilance and being very aware of my surroundings, being aware of people's moods and people's intentions, and created a false image of myself that I could only be loved for my body. And a lot of people experience that when they have been sexually abused. They feel like that is their only value because the people who created them are supposed to love them the right way. And we don't know that that's not the right way. You know what I mean? So it created a lot of issues inside of me. Now, every single person that I have met in my life has taught me something about myself. And most recently, this new relationship that I was in taught me that I have never felt safe with a man until this person. I've never felt safe with them. I've never felt protected. And the realization was very helpful to me because those were obviously they were not the right men. They were not the right relationships, right? Because I feel like in a good relationship, you will feel safe and protected. No matter if you're the man or the woman, you should feel safe in your relationship. I also learned that I have picked up an attachment issue that Travis had, that he projected it so much onto me that I kind of absorbed it and it became mine. So I have what's called a disorganized attachment issue, which is really from a lack of trust. which he definitely had that problem. But you can pick up these things from people who you associate with, people who you spend a lot of time with. They can influence you, they can influence your energy. You can absorb their energy, especially if you feel so much empathy for them, which really was the problem with Travis. I just felt so much empathy for him and his life because it was absolutely terrible. And I think that made me really want to help him. And I thought that I was the only one that could. That was my ego. um, and I honestly just didn't think he would be okay. You know, he was very mentally unstable, very mentally unstable. So let's talk about emotional trauma. I have been homeless, which was very stressful for me. I have been betrayed by every person in my immediate family, my mother, both of my brothers, my closest cousin. I have been deeply, deeply, deeply hurt. And I have forgiven them all. But that pain colors your relationship. It changes your relationship. It changes your whole reality, whether you like it or not. And a lot of people won't admit that. They won't admit that they still think about that moment where that pain was inflicted, or they still, it pops up when you meet new people and they say something or do something that reminds you of that previous situation. People won't admit that. People are mentally ill right now because they just won't admit that they're not okay. You know? And can we all just stop hiding from the truth? We are not okay. I am not okay. I have done so much work on myself mentally and emotionally, and I'm very proud of myself because I'm definitely better now than I have ever been in this life. But it's not the best I can be, right? It's not. And hopefully, every day I will be closer to a better version of who I'm meant to be. But I just want you all to know that, I mean, yeah, I have all these spiritual gifts that have come with so much pain. It has literally been so painful, this life. And I do believe that's part of why I have all these spiritual gifts, that I can help people, and helping people helps me help myself. It really helps me see, the similarities in everybody's story, and that, I can honestly tell you, every single one of you has been traumatized in some way. No joke. Every single one of you. How did you deal with it? Did you take the time to allow yourself to really re-experience it? Or have you been hiding from that pain? Have you been hiding from that experience and denying that it was part of your existence? I have been 100% honest about all of the bullshit I've been through. That's one thing about me, man. I will tell you the truth. I will tell you the truth. It's not been fun. When I was betrayed by everybody in my family, I was homeless. I ended up losing my place, and I had 2 teenagers and a brand new baby. And I had just started going to college online, and I didn't have a job, and it was really freaking traumatic. I ended up bouncing around, me and my kids and my baby. We bounced around like 5 or 6 different places until we finally stopped bouncing and we landed somewhere. And when we landed, um, my things had been taken from me. My family wouldn't let me have my belongings. And so when I finally did land somewhere, I started hoarding things. I developed this neurotic need to keep all of my stuff, you know. Um, it didn't matter what it was. I had a collection of cardboard boxes that I thought would be really good to use again. I started hoarding food. I started hoarding clothes. I started hoarding like just everything, not garbage because I'm not disgusting, but like everything was taken from me. And so I just was trying to surround myself with some measure of safety, you know? Um, and I dealt with that issue when I left Texas because I had literally hoarded like almost an entire house full of stuff that I really didn't need. And through all of my inner work that I was doing and exploring the shadow and doing the inner child work, um, when it came time for me to move to South Dakota, I let go of all of that stuff. And I felt so much lighter, you know? So, what are you holding on to? What are you keeping with you? What are you surrounding yourself with to make you feel safe? Is it memories? Is it, nostalgic things? Is it things from your childhood that make you feel safe? What is it? I have been um, very much alone most of my life. I do not let people close to me. That is something that is a trauma response. I am nice to everybody. And of course, I want everybody to have a wonderful life. And I want to have friends and I want to have um, people to turn to and people to talk to. But um, that has not been me. People don't check on me because I've always been the strong one. People don't check on the strong one. They don't. They don't message the strong one and say, "Hey, how's it going?" They don't share a joke with this strong one. They don't share a happy moment with this strong one. They just don't think about them because they don't need anyone, right? Um, that's just that's not okay. You have to have connections. I was talking to the boy today, my son, and he was just he was so angry about the situation he was going through. And I told him, I'm like, and he said that he didn't care about other people's feelings because nobody cares about his. And I'm like, well, you know, if you don't care about other people, they're not going to care about you. And that's true. You have to allow people in. You have to allow people in, right? You have to let people see you in all of your beautiful brokenness, you know? That's when you'll find out that so many other people are broken too. That they have the same brokenness as you do, or um, the same problems or the same situations, and that we've all kind of really gone through the same shit. It might not be exactly the same. I'm not saying that everybody out there has been, sexually abused as a child. I wasn't physically abused. I wasn't physically abused. I was emotionally abused. My mother was not maternal. She was not a maternal woman. She was not warm and loving in any way. So I did have a lot of emotional neglect. Yeah, and it was a very kind of really lonely childhood. I had two brothers, and I I just always played by myself. So I just so used to being alone. Um, Hi, Elspeth. I didn't see you sneak in. So right now we are in Taurus. Taurus is all about the senses, all about the five senses and the sixth sense. So as this week has progressed, I've realized that this is really going to be a transformative period. And with this solar eclipse that we had, it absolutely is. It's to transform you. It's a doorway, a portal, um, to allow you to shed that heavy weight, to allow you to let go. And I don't know if anybody else is feeling like issues in their throat right now, but I can feel that this is all just like going through my throat chakra because it hurts. Speaking this hurts. But I'm doing it because I'm not afraid to hurt, because I have hurt. I have hurt so much in my life that, like, who cares? You know? I personally am like so grateful for everything that I can experience, because even if it is shitty, because man, that's one hell of a memory, ain't it? I mean, if you think about it, if we are here, if we truly are here to experience everything that there is to experience, and we are not allowing ourselves that because it doesn't feel good, we're only living half an existence. God forbid we have to come back and live the other half. Maybe that's what happened to me. Maybe that's what I did. Maybe I wouldn't allow myself to feel in my last life. Maybe I was just stubborn, because God knows I am. Jan says, I'm not a spiritually gifted person, but during my childhood abuse, I left my body many times. Absolutely. Survival. Yes. Haven't thought too much about it till lately. Planets are lining up. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And that's a thing that we do as children. We disassociate. We disassociate because our brain just cannot compute what is happening to us. It is too much sensory overload. And you just check out, right? I experienced what's called trauma-induced amnesia. And I had that for most of my life, until I started doing the inner work, until I started doing the shadow work and the, communing with nature and looking inward. I started healing all that childhood trauma. And then that unlocked a lot of doors for me and allowed me to open memories that I did not have. I had a problem with long-term memory for most of my life. I still struggle with it right now. It's about 10%. It used to be 100%. I had no long-term memory. Like you could show me a picture of me holding a brand new baby that was mine, and it's like, oh, that's cute. And it didn't trigger any emotional attachment. It didn't bring a memory up. It was just not there, you know? And that was for everything. And so, but I did the inner work, and I did the shadow work. And when I did my mentorship program, I taught people how to do the work the way that I did it, because nobody helped me. I did it all by myself. I didn't go to counseling. I just listened to my intuition, and I dealt with that on my own. And it worked. I really have no problem with my father. I really don't. I have truly forgiven him. And that's hard for some people to understand, but I understand at a soul level that we have to do things to evolve. And sometimes we have really tough lives. That's sometimes we have really hard roles that we have to play. But I think as souls, we know that our soul will still love the other person, even if they're responsible for hurting us in any way, because that pain is going to eventually lead to our ascension. To feel safe, I guess feeling a sense of control. My relationship with my ex-narcissist really fucked me up. She controlled me, had me second guess everything, gaslit on a regular. It was bad. Now that I'm in a headspace that is good and I'm healing, I'm making decisions for me and I feel safe that I can trust myself again. That's wonderful, Bambi. That's really wonderful. Yeah, my ex was a narcissist too. They really do. Yeah, it's not that I don't want friends, but that they don't feel like being with me. I feel that. Ben. Ah, a pigeon pooped on his shoulder. Well, so Ben's a friend of mine over in Australia, and he has tragically lost his wife and their unborn daughter, uh, and very rare condition. And so now he has to raise his 4 little boys. And he said, "I can't hear because it's too windy. I've taken the boys to the beach. It's nice." I was just laughing about silly things my wife would say, and then a pigeon pooped on my shoulder. I think she got. I'm pretty sure she did. Is it funny for you? Is it funny for you that your wife pooped on your shoulder? Right, and that's exactly what I was saying, Suzanne. You never forget. You never ever forget because it becomes a part of you. That pain exists inside of you. And it's not just a part of your history, it changes you. It changes your physiology. That pain just kind of radiates inside of you, you know? It changes you. I wish it weren't so, you know? I wish it weren't so. I wish we could experience things and be sad about it and then let it go. Can just because she thought Canada and Canada were the same country, why not joke about it? Canada is a country? Hold on a second. What? Like I'm looking that up because I've never heard of that. Canada is not a country. What are you talking about? Are you fucking with me? Are you messing with me? Hi, Amantha. How are you? We are talking about trauma tonight. We're talking about trauma and we're talking about how it affects your body. Um, 1 second. Breaks pure spirit and cracks our souls, in my opinion. I agree with you. I agree with you. I do. Hi, Peggy. So, as I keep trying to say, Taurus season. Okay, so Taurus is the bull represented in astrology. It starts today and goes into the 21st of May, I believe. And then we have Gemini season. So Taurus is all about the physical sensations, the physical things, um, having quality things in your life, liking expensive things, being persevering, being persistent, being bullheaded, even because it's represented by the bull. And it's all about your physical reality, your feelings. I have a Taurus moon, so I very much am into the 5 senses. I love things that smell good, and I love seeing beautiful things and tasting delicious things, and being rubbed and touched and um, hearing beautiful things and just really like being enveloped in the sensual side of life. I like touching things when I walk through stores. I have to touch different textures. I really like soft stuff. And food is just such an amazing experience for me. Like I really love the taste of food. It's not necessarily about anything other than how my body reacts to the flavors. Like I'm really about all that. And so this right now is time for us to allow ourselves to feel, allow ourselves to sense, Pay attention to your intuition. Allow yourself to be guided by your soul. I have been listening to, yes, all of those things. Amazing, right? Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely, Ben. Sometimes I have to purposefully remember the good stuff that the constant trauma memories keep me from enjoying. 100%. You have to remind yourself that it hasn't been all bad, right? It completely changes you. Physically, now I'm a wreck from being in fight or flight mode for years. My adrenaline system is shot, plus fibro and severe osteoarthritis. It does. Fibromyalgia is an excess of energy in your body. I was once diagnosed with that as well. I started doing energy work and clearing out the trauma, and that issue went away for me. Okay. But I'm so picky on my materials, got to be uber soft. Honestly, why is that? Like, seriously, good food can really give me like a sensual orgasm. Like, it really can. Like, I'm such a foodie, but I feel like that's just a tourist thing. I think we really enjoy the beauty of life in all its many forms. So, allow yourself to enjoy the beauty of life right now, because it's going to be painful. It's going to be it's going to be a purge. There are certain times throughout the year that the universe aligns for us to work through these differences inside of us, work through these negative things that are kind of holding us in a specific vibration or a specific pattern. And we have been holding on to them. And that's really what it all comes down to. We have been holding on to them by pushing them down and not allowing them to just be, yes, they've become a part of us, but it's a part of us that we won't acknowledge. So you have to acknowledge it. You have to allow it to integrate and become a part of you. It's called integrating the shadow. And once you can accept this part of you, you start letting go of it. You start not holding on to it so tightly. And it gets to the point where it doesn't even affect you anymore, because it's just a part of you. It's not a trigger anymore. It's just a part of the fabric of your life that has made you the person that you are today. And hopefully we can all get to the point in our lives where we can look at that person in the mirror and say that we are happy with the end result, right? What is this? Oh. So apparently I am not ready for a relationship. I thought I was. I was excited about it. I was all gung ho. But then I realized I had this disorganized attachment, which is interesting, because it's definitely, Travis had a severe anxious attachment style. One story that I can tell you about that. I had told him that I was going to go down to the store to get some vanilla ice cream because I made a peach cobbler. And after dinner, he was in the bedroom, because he always stayed in the bedroom. And I just got in my car and I drove 10 minutes down to the gas station and I got some vanilla ice cream. And then I came back like immediately, and he was freaking out. He was absolutely freaking out. How come I didn't answer my phone? Well, my ringer was on silence because I just kept my ringer on silent because I didn't like to be bothered when I was eating and when I was doing stuff like that, and I hadn't fixed it. And he had called me on my phone like 8 times. He had called me on Facebook Messenger several times. He had texted me numerous times. And he had literally tried to reach me in every possible way. And the only reason was because I left without telling him where I was going. And he completely freaked out. And I was gone 20 minutes. And Emma was at the house with him. It's not like we packed our things and left. I just grabbed my purse and went to get ice cream at the store so we could have dessert. And so it was this huge blow up when I got there. He was pissed at me, and um obviously I was doing something wrong because I didn't answer my phone. So I just was shocked. I was totally shocked that he behaved that way. And then he just, instead of it being his issue, it was just because he cares about me. It's just because he's concerned for me and he's worried if something could have happened to me. Um, and he really just tried to completely make it seem like it was normal. And he did that so often that I just kind of, I guess it just rewired my brain to be like, if you don't hear from somebody, then something happened to them. And that was never a problem for me. Understanding your attachment style. Yeah. So truth bomb, I can't read. Sorry. The fiance that I had left me 10 days after mom passed. 3 days before her celebration of life totally triggered me into this stage of insecurity from when I was in my 20s. Yeah. Yeah, I used to have a very secure attachment style. I've had long-term relationships. I've never had any issues with anything like that. And so it was really surprising to me that this kind of came about. Um, so obviously, I'm going to take some time to work on that because that's not acceptable for me. I don't appreciate that at all. Um, and gosh, Jen, I'm really sorry that that is happening to you. That's really terrible. That's like insult on top of injury. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that's horrible. Um, I'm really sorry. I wish I could give you a hug. I know how happy you were. And I'm really sorry that you're going through that. So, Nicole, if you paid any attention whatsoever to the title of this video, it says, let's talk about trauma. We're not doing spirit messages tonight. We're talking about trauma and how it affects us. Mr. You are such a beautiful soul. Thank you, Kat. You're the sweetest. I appreciate you. My arms embrace you. Ah, my heart extends to you, strength, clarity, and wisdom. We are the brides of Jesus. Love you, sis. I am that I am. Thank you. I appreciate you so much, Kat. I do know that this was clarity on something that I wasn't aware of. Like I said, this has all been in the last week, and several days ago, it was literally the morning of 6 days ago, now that I think about it. I was waking up and my auntie was visiting me, and I haven't seen her. Well, she's in spirit, but I haven't heard from her, seen her for a while. And my relationship was on my mind as soon as I woke up, and I was asking her questions, and I'm like, why is this person in my life? And she's like, you'll see. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm going to see something. So that's wonderful. And I did. Double whammy. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's anxious attachment style, which is the person that is very fearful. If they feel abandoned, if they feel like they are being neglected, or it really is triggered from abandonment. So there's the anxious attachment style. There's the avoidant attachment style, which is wanting to avoid issues, wanting to not deal with issues that trigger them, avoiding it. Clarity totally triggered into this insecure person who is questioning everything. Sucks because I thought I healed from my past. That's what I'm saying, girl. Like, we can do all the work. We can do all the work, and it will sneak up on you, and it'll be like, oh yeah, there it is. There it is. And it's not that you have to do a lot more work. It's just to show you that there's different things that can trigger that. You might have healed one particular situation that deals with that ball, so to speak, like one side of it. But there's other sides that we can't see that are also affected by that. There are other parts of us, because it's connected to everything. Like there's other parts of us that we can't see um, until we turn the ball around, really. So, but it's not forever. Eventually we'll see the whole ball. We'll see all the bits of it, and nothing will surprise us. You've been avoiding. Yeah. And then there's disorganized attachment, which is um like falling for somebody really fast and just being so in love with them until they show you just a tiny little thing that makes you not trust them, and then you want to push them away because you feel like you're going to get hurt by them. Ah, or you see a red flag or something and you're just like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving you before you can leave me, type of a situation. And that's kind of where I'm at. I went through 25 years of physical and mental abuse. Oh man, Amantha, that's terrible. I am so sorry you went through that. My heart breaks for you. And now that I've left, I've had to transform myself back to the old me. And just when I thought I was getting better, I fell back. Very frustrating. I understand your frustration. Your feelings are very valid, and I totally understand. I totally, totally understand. I did numerous years of work on myself, and then I ended up in a terrible relationship. And I did a year's work of me time and getting back to me and healing what I thought was everything from that relationship, till I finally felt like I was ready to get back out there. And then boom, you fall back, and it's like, oh, it's tough. It's tough. And it's like, well, I'm disappointed because I really thought this was my person. And maybe he is, but it's just we're not both in a place where, like, he's also on a healing journey. So neither one of us is in a place where that would work for us, you know. So I send him all my love. I think he's a wonderful person. I really, really do. And but we're just not in a place of alignment. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna figure out how to get rid of this disorganized attachment style that Travis blessed me with, and then get myself back out there. Not because I need to be with somebody, because I know that there is somebody for me, and I'm not going to do anything to delay that, because I know when things are supposed to happen, they do. But I'm not going to keep myself from finding that person because I'm living in a state of fear. I absolutely refuse. I refuse to live in a state of constant fear. So when this boundary was crossed, and it created space for me to have these emotional triggers that I was not used to, I did not want to be in that space. So I left that relationship. No fault of his own, other than the fact that he didn't listen when I said I had a boundary. And he did it again. So listen when she speaks. 9 years, girl. I'm really working on trying to get me back. Almost there, but those triggers still pop up. And that's the thing. They're going to pop up until you see every side of it, until you see every possible way that it has affected you, until you can honestly say, well, that's because, and you will start like noticing the triggers as they happen. And that's how you're healing your trauma. Okay. When you see the trigger as it's happening, PTSD. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. We all have PTSD, honestly, just in different extremes, different levels. My eyes are tired. Even though I just drank most of her coffee, my eyes are tired. But yes, when you become aware, like I said, when you shed light on them and you are aware that they're there, when you keep getting those triggers, it's like, oh yeah, it's still there. Still there. It's still creating this shift in my energy. It's still creating an emotional trigger. It's still connected to a part of my mind that is fearful. And that's how your emotional trigger is pushed, because it's fear-based. I'm not sure. Well, we can only assume, Jen. Jen says, I'm not sure why you chose to share this tonight when I'm beginning to deal with my shit. It all sounds so familiar. I've been dealing with trauma this week, and finally we say out loud what we know really happened to so many others too. Grateful steps. Thank you. You're welcome. It's okay, Victor. But it was not something that I was willing to accept. But thank you. Are you back from your road trip? I was at the office the other day. I didn't see your car, so I was assuming you're still out of town. I hope you know, right, that your father wasn't ready to have that sit down with you, and that's why I didn't do it. It wasn't anything about me. It was about the timing. You're back today. Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're back. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I'm gonna have you. That was a big release. Why not? What? I just was told it wasn't time. It wasn't time. That's what I kept hearing. And I know you really wanted it to happen, but he wasn't ready to have a conversation. And it could be because he's doing things over there. It could be because he's not ready for the conversation that you want to have. There could be many different reasons. I just know what I'm told. And he wasn't ready to have that reading with you. Okay? For whatever reason. Maybe he didn't want to do it before your trip. Maybe he didn't want to ruin your trip. You know, maybe he didn't. I don't know, Victor. I don't know. Well, I hope this live stream, I hope you share it with somebody. I hope you all got something out of it. Okay? If you watch it from the beginning, and you can see that there's a lot going on right now energetically, and that it's really a good opportunity for people to purge things. And my throat still hurts, so obviously I have to say some things, some other things here. I really love my spiritual work. My spiritual work is important to me because it helps. Helping you all makes me feel value, truly. But it doesn't pay the bills. So I'm doing other things, and I will come on when I can. But please, if you want to book a private reading with me, by all means do it, because I love helping you all. I really, really do. That really helps me to help you. I can't wait until my mom chooses to come through. Well, I hope she does. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful, Jen. I'm so glad that you can feel her. That's amazing. You know, once we get through the lowest of the energy, once we get through the deepest emotions in our spiritual journey. Actually, I have read a book that was really interesting. Different perspective. Hold on. Where is it? I've had so many. There's a book called Complex PTSD, written by some guy, and I can't remember his name, but it's a really good book, and it helps a lot of people. But this book called Whole Living by Jill Bolte Taylor. She's a neuroscientist and very easy to read. It's not very sciencey. Some people don't like a lot of terminology and things of that nature, but it's not hard to read at all. And she's a neuroscientist, and she had a stroke, and it took her 8 years to get back to herself. She is a Harvard-trained and published neuroanatomist. She experienced a severe hemorrhage in the left hemisphere of her brain, causing her to lose the ability to walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of her life. Her memoir, My Stroke of Insight, documenting her experience with stroke and the 8-year recovery, spent 63 weeks on the nonfiction bestseller list. But in this book, Whole Brain Living, she explains the 4 different parts of your brain as she experienced them from the moment she lost everything and became one with consciousness again, which is what happened when she lost her personal identity. And it really helps you identify when you are in your inner child. And it helped me tremendously to realize when I was being triggered and what different aspects of my personality I was in. Like I'm in my personality 1 a lot of the time, which is the one that controls, the one that needs order, the one that has to have everything make sense, the rational brain. So I'm in that a majority of the time. I'm not often in my character 3, which is the person who's carefree and fun, but I'm trying to be more in that aspect. I am always in my character 4 and very much aware of the universe and how much of a part I play in all of that. And I have been trying to acknowledge the character 2, which is the inner child. I've been doing a lot better about recognizing when I'm in that structure of my brain. And I have been trying to parent her and love her the way that she needed to be parented and loved, so that it doesn't, so that I can just kind of integrate all of it. But that's this is a really good book. Okay. A really, really good book. And it really was an eye opener for me. And it really helped me kind of process. Wonderful. And the name of her book, talking about her recovery, is called My Stroke of Insight. Okay. It's called My Stroke of Insight, documenting her experience with stroke and her 8-year recovery. So that's a book and so you'll be able to, maybe it will help him realize like he's not alone and other people have experienced the same thing, because it's a documentary about, she's a scientist, she's all about the evidence and studying things. And she didn't lose that ability, even though she lost the ability to connect, you know what I mean? But anyways, great book. The 4 Agreements is a really good book. The 5th Agreement is a really good book. I have this book, which I haven't finished, but I have a lot of books about this stuff. I have The 5 Wisdom Energies by Irene Rockwell, A Buddhist Way of Understanding Personalities, Emotions, and Relationships. And then this book was recommended to me. He feels very alone almost. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. I hope it helps. This book is called Soul Lessons and Soul Purpose, a channeled guide to why you are here. Sonia Coquette. I honestly haven't finished this book. I'm only on page 21. But it shows the different levels of what you're doing in your life, like where you are at as far as levels of awareness in all different aspects of your life. So that's very helpful to know, how much more you have to do. And if you're an expert at something or not, that's helpful. Helps you identify those things. I might finish reading that book. But there's another one. It's called Complex PTSD. And it's about a guy telling his story about realizing that he had complex PTSD and his journey to heal. So it's really helpful, like it's helpful to realize that we're, like I said, we all kind of experience the same thing. We're all in this together. Not like in a COVID way, but like in an energy way. All right. Well, it's been a day. So goodness. Make sure you give yourself make sure you give your son a good vitamin D supplement, Kathleen. Okay? Vitamin D. Not calcium, just vitamin D. And what's the other one that I was thinking? What's the other one? I can't think of it. I don't know. I don't know what the other one is. I am not thinking of another one, apparently. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight and listening to me talk about all this different stuff. What is your attachment style? Google it. Attachment styles. Emotional attachment styles. There's secure. There is anxious. There's avoidant. And then there is disorganized. So tell me, what is your attachment style? Huh? Zinc. Yeah, zinc is really good to take, but specifically for a stroke, vitamin D and I think probably tyrosine. L-tyrosine would be good for that because it helps with L-tyrosine. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Oh, good. I'm glad you're bulking him up. That's wonderful. Yeah, I can't even think. I can't even think right now. So, thank you all for joining me tonight. I really, really mean it. I hope that our little talk about trauma has helped you in some way. Letting it all out is important. You can write it down. You can speak it to the empty room. You can speak it to yourself in the mirror. That's a rough one. Try that one. Yeah, that's a rough one. But definitely worth the effort if you wanna give that a try. I'm very tired. Whew. God be with all of us, exactly. And many blessings to everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Tomorrow's Friday. Aren't we so excited about that?